Hi, welcome. I wanted to start off today by talking about the importance of bookkeeping as the financial foundation for a healthy business. What is bookkeeping? Let's start there. I get asked this question often from clients and people looking for support. And bookkeeping is the task of categorizing every transaction in your business, expenses and revenue in their correct categories. This is done through determining what is your chart of accounts, essentially your categories where the buckets are going to be uh, categorize things into, starting with types of revenue that you have in your business, ways that you make money, ideally not by type of payer, aka PayPal, Stripe, all those, but actually by the type of services or goods that you sell so that we can start understanding how the business is growing, the different revenue streams, and the cost or operating expenses of your business is the next part of it, where you have categories around expenses like rent, utilities, maybe software, employee payroll, benefits, and so on. The importance of having this chart of account defined is that it needs to align with your type of business and industry. So it's important that you're working with someone who understands that it can help you and guide that chart of accounts, which is not stagnant. It should be updated every year or looked at least every year to ensure that it's still keeping up with the business and the business needs as you continue to grow. Now, I get asked, what are the tasks of a bookkeeper and how they should be completed? So, not only are they going to categorize expenses in the right buckets, so assuming they're already doing that, they also need to be reconciling your books for a month. And this is the task of looking at your bank statements and looking at what came into your accounting software and making sure the transactions are matching, not just for the transaction, but also the amount that was charged so that you're not getting duplicate charges by mistake that you need to go fix, or that maybe things are missing because those are deductions at the end of the year you want to take from a tax perspective. So it's important that you have those documented accurately for the right amounts and make sure that everything looks nice and clean every single month. And last but not least, they should be producing a monthly report for you, a monthly financial statement for your profit and loss. And your profit and loss statement is where we have all the revenue and expenses recorded and ultimately the profit of the business. So it's important that you know, did my business have a profit this month, or are we behind? Do we need to make some changes because of it? So this data becomes the foundation of answering a lot of the questions you have as a business owner on what are the goals I'm trying to achieve? How am I going to achieve them? Where are we at today? Are we hitting our goals? Are we on track or off track? And what are we going to do about those situations going forward? Are we going to make a change? Do we need to spend less? Do we need to make more money? Those are kind of the questions that these statements are going to start to answer for you, especially if you start to review them monthly. And this goes back to the cadence of where this bookkeeping services should be performed, at least monthly. I know some people prefer to have them quarterly because their business maybe are more stable and they don't need the ongoing support. But if I'm running a business that's growing, I want to look at this at least monthly to ensure that we're on track, that we're hitting the goals, and if we're not, that we have a plan to shift things to make it back to profit. So that's why you should be doing the bookkeeping on a regular basis to avoid getting behind. And, you should start bookkeeping right away when you start your business. I know this is not ideally the case for everyone out there that are starting businesses or have already had businesses for a few years and are not currently doing their bookkeeping on a regular basis. It's important that you start to prioritize that. And if you're getting behind because you have too much going on, the business is growing fast, you have team members to manage, then it's time to think about outsourcing it to a company that can provide those services for you. It's going to be critical that you don't get behind trying to recreate 12 months of data tax time for compliance. It's just going to be really hard to answer a lot of those questions. So making sure you know exactly, how you are keeping up with the bookkeeping and why it's important to keep up with it, because it's a lot of really important data there that you're going to use to make decisions in your business. And if it's not available, how do you know? Like, would you get in a car and drive if you didn't have a dashboard? You probably wouldn't, because that would be really scary. You would feel very out of control and overwhelmed. You wouldn't really know, am I going at the right speed or am I going too slow? Am I about to run out of gas? Do I need to stop for some fuel and make sure that I don't get stranded? You wouldn't know that unless you had that dashboard to tell you the health of the car and like what are some of the metrics we're measuring as we go along, not waiting for at the end of the trip to find out you almost ran out of gas and you were going way too fast, so you could have gotten pulled over. So all those things are important information to navigate your business as you go through every month. Now, for the outcome of bookkeeping is so much more than just the data you get and the reports that are being provided. It's also about how are we performing against the financial metrics we set for the business. Are we spending according to the plan? Are we spending double what we thought we were going to be? Are we hitting the revenue goals that we outlined? And maybe it was a combination of existing clients and new clients that you wanted to bring into the business, or new customers purchasing your goods, and knowing how many units, how many customers, at what price point, and ensuring that those goals are outlined somewhere so that you know, are you on track or off track, or what you need to do to go get those new clients to start to hit your revenue goals at that next level. And if you haven't created a plan, this is where maybe bookkeeping feels like a chore or not necessary or not important for you right now in your business. It's because you don't have anything to compare it to. Having a plan in place for your financial goals is going to start to give you some clarity on what are the metrics and how are we performing against those measures that we had originally intended. So if you intended to have 5 clients paying you $1,000 each, then you need to have that goal outlined so that you know where you're at. Did you only get 2 clients? Are you at 3? Do you need 2 more? And if so, then you know what your revenue gaps are to get to that goal that you have set. And you also know what is your budget for spending, because now you might need to make adjustments to what you were originally spending in your business, because now you have less to go with than you had originally planned. So that's where we go through, some cost analysis on what are we spending money on? Is it bringing a value to the business? Should we make a change? And all of these answers are buried in your bookkeeping. So again, keeping up with it, making sure you're looking at it every month, and that you have someone in charge of providing and performing those tasks is going to really free up your time to go grow the business, which is really where the better use of your time as a CEO is to go drive that growth and strategically think about your decisions in the business by reviewing the financial information, but not having to be the one doing and performing all the tasks in the business. Again, we have so many competing priorities as a business owner and CEO that it's really easy to let this get behind and fall through the cracks. Often we get clients that said they came to us because they just got behind, life got in the way, business got busy. And then finances were in their top priority in the moment as they were growing, but then cash flow got tight and things changed. And now they have to pay attention more closely, and they don't even have the data to be able to know what's happening in their business. They're confused by it because nothing is in the right categories. Maybe they use some auto categorized rules in their accounting software, and that has been an issue because nothing's in the wrong place and they don't know how to fix it. So all those things are things that we get told by clients coming for support that want to be addressed and need to be addressed in order for the financial health of the business to shift and start to thrive instead of struggle. So if you're not doing the books, again, it's really important that you maintain those every month and that you set a calendar time on your schedule to make sure you get to this task. And if you are not able to, that's okay. Totally understand that sometimes there are other more important things. Then you need to outsource this to a team that knows what they're doing, that can help you and be there for you to get this task done on time, and you can delegate it off your plate and make sure that you're just overseeing the result of that financials that they're providing. Now, the other piece I see often with bookkeeping that is not getting done or given the attention it deserves is the balance sheet. So there's 3 financial statements, as you all know. There's the profit and loss statement, there's the balance sheet, and then there's the statement of cash flow. All these are connected. And what happens is a lot of things get buried in the balance sheet. The balance sheet is going to determine what are your assets and liabilities and equity in the business. And if that is not cleaned up every quarter or once a year to ensure its accuracy, now you have wrong record keeping around what is the value of your business, the assets that you have, the liabilities or money you owe. And often when we come in as a bookkeeping team to upgrade the support, we see that the balance sheet did not get any love. And often accountants are stressed out and struggling with the bookkeeping because the balance sheet doesn't look the way it's supposed to look. And that's where we need to make adjustments and make sure that there's entries entered to ensure the accuracy of the balance sheet before the closing of the year for tax time and compliance. So making sure your bookkeeping team is looking at your balance sheet and providing a clean one every, quarter or every 6 months to make sure that things are being captured correctly and not just getting buried in the balance sheet is going to be an important aspect of bookkeeping. So now that we cover kind of what bookkeeping is, the cadence, who should be responsible for it, and the outcomes of bookkeeping that you should expect from your team, let's go back to why is this the foundation of financial management and the importance. It's the foundation because data integrity is what allows us to make forecasting projections and make financial decisions in the business. So if we can rely on the data that's being provided because the books have not been kept up, they're not clean, they're not managed every month, and maybe they're behind 3 months, then we can move forward with planning for the business future with data that is not accurate, clean, and consistent. And we notice this often when we look at trends in each of the categories and we see that things are just off. And we start to ask questions, and the owner doesn't know. Maybe they have a bookkeeping team. We're able to send them some notes and suggestions on what updates to make and what changes and what things to look for, and make sure that someone is holding that bookkeeping team accountable to producing accurate results. And I find this often when there's no oversight of the bookkeeping function, because again, owners have not been told how to do bookkeeping, and they probably have never overseen a bookkeeping function before. They're not sure what they're looking for or how to help their bookkeeping team be better at managing the books. So it is your responsibility to ensure that your books are accurate. Ultimately, even if you're delegating or outsourcing out to your bookkeeping team, you should be checking to make sure things look nice and clean. For example, if rent is missing 1 month and you see the trend go from, $2,500 a month to zero, you have a gap, or 22,500 a month down to zero, then the rent is missing and it might be miscategorized, or it might not have been entered as an expense, or maybe your rent check never got cashed. This is another one I see often, is we get surprises like that. Oh my goodness, the landlord never cashed the check. Now we're sitting on this expense. It's going to hit us this month instead of the month it should have. Or maybe they never received the check. So now that's a different problem, because now you are late on your rent payment, even though you sent it in. It was never received. So this is the importance of, bookkeeping being current, because we can identify decisions when they're happening, not 3 months down the road when you get in a letter from the landlord saying you never paid rent for that month. So ensuring that you have that data is an important aspect, but also that your trends look nice and clean and healthy. So if you're receiving revenue every month, if that revenue dips or increases, we need to understand why that is. What happened in the business that drove revenue up? What happened in business that drove revenue down? And making sure that we have a good grasp on what's going on in the business month to month, so we can start to answer some questions and do more of the things that are actually working. So having the data available will also allow you to make better financial decisions in your business, because you'll see what are you spending money on. Are you still getting the value from spending money in those categories, or do we need to assess and reallocate to better categories that will help you grow the business? So ensuring that you understand where is your money going, not just where it's coming from, which is also important. Where are you collecting the most revenue? Which services are providing the better, margin in your business? Which ones are the more popular ones? We could do more of that, and doubling down on the things that are working. It's also, what are the things that are no longer working that we can get rid of, and make sure that we're not spending money on things that are not moving the needle in the business, and really refocusing that energy to things that are important for the business to thrive and grow over time. And there'll be times you'll try things that don't work, and that's totally okay, because we've all been there on bad investments that we thought were going to make a difference. And I think sometimes it's a bit of that lesson learned. But if you didn't have the data to see what was going on, that investment that you made is not paying off because there's no clear return on investment or ROI, then you would not be able to identify to reduce that expense or cut that cost out temporarily or permanently, depending on what's going on in the business. So it's important we have that available data that's clean and accurate and consistently being delivered to us as CEOs and business owners, and that we're carving out that time to review those monthly statements, ask questions, and understand what's happening in our business every month so we can make better decisions going forward and also make the necessary changes as we move through the next month or two. Also, as we go into planning for the next quarter or the next year in our businesses, making sure that we are always prepared, no matter if it's tax time or not, because we always want to be compliant regardless, and we always want to know what is the financial health of our business, and we can't answer that unless our books are in order. Making sure that financial health takes an important top priority in your business is going to be key in making sure your business stays profitable and sustainable for the long term. Well, that's all we have for today. Thank you for joining me. And I look forward to our next episode on more around financial management and financial health of the business.